Welcome to Southwestern, and I hope that we get to see all of you on campus or on Zooms. Again, my name is Suzanne Kunz, and I'm going to start my uh, presentation. And I'll stick around for questions as you wish. More than happy to answer any questions that you have, either while we're here or after the presentation. You're also welcome to email me. Are you all seeing something? Okay,
Yes,
good.
we see the binoculars.
Very good. So this is a pretty high level overview because we have four different kinds of people in our audience tonight. And some of you are interested in our 2-year scale program. Some of you are interested in our full-time, part-time online program that starts in August. And those have two different sets of information that are necessary. Some of you are admitted, some of you are just thinking about us. So I wanted to stay kind of high level on this so that all of you will come away with some information that will be valuable to you. So whether you're going for that two-year scale program, or you're going through the full-time, part-time program for a 3 or 4-year program that starts in August, we want to make sure that we have all those questions answered for you. All of you who are admitted should have, if you were admitted prior to last week, should have received a questionnaire from me, as well as my personal Calendly link, so that you can make an appointment with me anytime you want to meet with me. More than happy to talk to you on Zoom or answer any questions that you have through email. We typically don't have the opportunity to answer cell phones or phone calls at the financial aid office, and we prefer talking through email or through Zoom conversations while we have your full attention, rather than having you try to talk to us on the phone while you're double tasking and multitasking. The questionnaire that I sent to all of those of you who are admitted, if you haven't received a questionnaire yet and you are admitted, you'll probably get it tomorrow. And just do answer the questions in that questionnaire, because it doesn't matter whether you're using financial aid or not. We still need those questions answered. So getting on with my presentation. First of all, our financial aid office. We have 3 people in our financial aid. There's me. And then there's Leslie Rea. Many of you will get to know her very well. She's our counselor. She's phenomenal. And our third person in our office is Lena Bajorquez. She's our systems administrator. So essentially, she is behind the scenes in our office. And she doesn't answer a lot of questions unless you are thinking about using veterans benefits to help fund your law education. So if you have questions about VA funding, do email Lena directly. If you miss her email address here, all you have to do is look on the website or email me directly. I'll give it to you. But she can answer pretty much any questions that you might have, but she specializes in the VA funding. We work hand in hand with our finance office, and the person in the finance office that works with us the most is Rose Segroy, and she is our bursar. So for those of you who are not paying for your tuition using loans and scholarships, and you're using some out-of-pocket money or maybe some private lending, you'll be working with Rose Segroy quite a bit as well. For those of you who in your undergraduate years heard the phrase, "you do not qualify for aid because your mom and dad made too much money," that has changed, because in law school, all of our students are independent. We no longer use your parental information or their financial status to determine whether or not you have aid or not. And at Southwestern, all of our students are independent students. So for those of you who have not already filled out a FAFSA, and you're going to law school or graduate school, there's no reason to put in your parents' information on the FAFSA. Just no reason at all. It's all grayed out. We don't even have access to it if you even put it in there. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to do that. One thing that you're going to hear a lot at Southwestern is the FERPA agreements. These didn't really come into play very much when you were an undergrad, but they will come into play here. And that is, everything that we do with our students is between us and our student. Parents are not really involved in most of what you have to do with your law degree. You can bring them into the fold and have them in your Zoom meetings with me if you want. I'm more than happy to talk to parents as long as you're in the room with me. But you have the ability to keep everything that you do here at Southwestern private. What that also means is that your federal loans are your loans, not your parents' loans. They no longer need to There's no reason to put your parents' information on your loans. That also means that your mom or your dad should not be creating your FAFSA for you. These are things that you should be doing yourself. You're going to be completing your own documentation. You don't have anyone else complete your documentation for you. And to that end, you also never share your federal student aid credentials with anybody. If anyone ever asks you to share those credentials with them, walk away quickly because they're probably not doing anything in your best interests. What else should you do now? Well, first of all, one thing that you can do, whether you're coming to Southwestern or you're going to a different school, you need to have a well-monitored email address in addition to your EDU addresses that you've got. Once you're in school, you want to monitor your EDU address because it's very important that you have access to those emails and you pay attention to them. I have many students who miss out in scholarship opportunities and other opportunities because they don't read their emails, and that's important that you do that. Another thing you should be doing right now is get yourself your own Social Security card. If your mom's got your Social Security card, she's got it in her safety deposit box, or maybe she's lost it, or maybe you lost it, get a new one. And you can do that very easily at ssa.gov. Get a Social Security card, because I have had students who've missed out on good opportunities for externships because they could not get their hands on that Social Security card fast enough. You'll also need it if you want to do any kind of employment at the school. Talk to your people. What I mean by that is make sure that the people in your life that are important to you know the kind of commitment that you're about to make. Law school is college on steroids. The things that you used to be able to do when you were in your undergraduate program, you're not going to be able to do now. If your friends think that, Friday at 2 o'clock, your vacation, your weekend starts every weekend, and man, you can just put your books away and do whatever you want on the weekend and go back to school on Monday and start all over again. That's not the case in law school. And so you need to make sure that the people in your life are supportive. I'm not necessarily talking about financial support, but I am saying they support the fact that you cannot participate in everything they need you to participate in. You need to put your time into your law school education. Otherwise, you're not going to do well in law school. And another thing you can do right now, check your credit. If you don't have any idea what your credit score is, if you don't know what your creditors are considering when they think about you, if you don't know what your credit score is, you need to find that out. You need to fix any issues that might be on your account now. That could include past student loans. That could include a credit card that you're not paying on. Maybe a gym membership that you tried to walk out on that you didn't even know that they've set up as collection account. Make sure you fix your credit now, because waiting until June or July is not an option for you. Pare down your expenses now. Get used to spending less money. A lot of students come in and they'll say to me, well, I've got this car that I purchased right after I graduated from my undergrad, and it's $800 a month, and the insurance is just crazy on this car. And I'm like, well, of course it is. An $800 a month payment on a car is going to come along with some very expensive insurance. You can't afford that. You need to make sure that you pare down your expenses, because your future self will appreciate the fact that you were spending as little money as possible while going to school. When we talk about aid in law school, there's 4 different kinds of aid that you might have in law school. And that's scholarships, federal work study, federal loans, and even private loans. The amount of federal loans versus private loans will differ depending on what program that you choose, especially this coming year. But one thing I want to stress, because a lot of students don't understand this, many students have applied for financial aid in their undergraduate program. They were denied financial aid in their undergraduate program, and they think that that will continue for their graduate or law school program. That's not necessarily true. There are no income requirements to get federal loans. None whatsoever. If you have a high income, if you have a low income, if you have no income, it does not matter on the federal loans. So just because you didn't qualify in the past does not mean that you won't qualify now. Now, where the changes are happening are in how we finance your education. Cost of attendance is something you've probably heard before. Cost of attendance is the amount of money it would take my average student to be able to come to law school. And that cost of attendance is determined every year, and it includes everything: tuition, your personal items, housing that you may or may not need, books that you will need, food you want to eat, and transportation. A certain amount is allowed by federal regulation. Now, that cost of attendance up until this year has been something that you could get just through federal loans. You could get pretty much everything that you needed by using federal loans to cover all of these different areas. But that has changed for many students. For those of you who are entering into our SCALE program in the month of June, as long as all of your loan documentation is done and your loans disperse in the month of June, you will still be able to use federal loans to cover all of your cost of attendance. For those of you who are starting in August in the full-time, the part-time, or the online program, that has changed. And that's due to this big, beautiful bill that passed last July. It's got some really good stuff in it. It's got some really disappointing stuff in it. But some of the things that have changed when it comes to that big, beautiful bill. Law school financing, those for those who are starting after the 1st of July, and that's all of our students starting in the part-time, the full-time, and the online program, you have up to $50,000 in a federal loan that you can use towards your tuition or your living expenses. And that is prorated for those of you who will be taking less than full-time status. We are still looking at some very gray guidance from the Department of Education as to how much we're going to have to prorate it, but it will be a slightly less than the $50,000, and it could be as little as only 3/4 of the $50,000 that you qualify for as a part-time student. We'll have more clarification on that in the coming months. And also your law school and any other graduate school funding that you have received, not Grad Plus loans, but unsubsidized loans, you are limited to only $200,000 for your lifetime. So if you have attended graduate school in the past and gotten undergraduate or unsubsidized loans for that graduate education, that will count as toward part of that lifetime limit. And this includes all graduate unsubsidized loans that were dispersed, even if they were paid in full, and even if you never actually took them. If they were dispersed and then you canceled them by sending the money back, that still counts as part of that $200,000 lifetime limit. If you are concerned that you are close to that limit, by all means, email me. We'll talk about it. I'll tell you exactly what you can expect. I'm here to talk one-on-one with you anytime you need. And any additional loans that you need would have to come from private lenders. When it comes to student loans, for those of you who are starting in the SCALE program, so your loans are, you're starting prior to July 1st and your loans are dispersing prior to July 1st. You wouldn't want to procrastinate on your loan documentation. The unsubsidized loan will be available to you. Loan fees on an unsubsidized loan range around 1% of the loan itself. This year, the interest is 7.94. For our SCALE students starting in June, that will be the interest rate on your loans because the loans are being dispersed prior to July 1st. Now, this unsubsidized loans for SCALE students only, just the 2-year program students, is limited to $20,500 per year. And you have a $138,500 limit to those unsubsidized loans, in addition to your undergraduate unsubsidized and subsidized loans. Most students do not come anywhere near that limit unless they also did a graduate program prior to coming to law school. You'd also be eligible for the Grad Plus loan only because you're having a loan dispersed prior to June 30th, or July 1st. Grad Plus loans are kind of expensive. It's a 4% loan fee, and they're looking at closer to 9% interest for our SCALE students coming in June. Now you can get these up to your cost of attendance, so they can cover your apartment, they can cover your food and your transportation up to a certain amount. There's a finite amount of money that you can borrow, but it is subject to credit. Some students do not qualify for Grad Plus loan because they have poor credit. But if you have no credit, or if your credit is at least okay, you should be able to get a Grad Plus loan. I think we have probably about a 1 or 2% of our students have to go through some kind of an endorser or an appeal to get their Grad Plus loans. The nice thing about the federal student loans, they are fixed interest, they're not variable interest. They are fixed. Whatever interest you get that loan at, that's what that interest will remain for the life of the loan. They are also simple interest, which means that the interest is only accumulating and accruing on the principal. Interest does not accrue interest on a federal loan, which is nice. That means it's not compounding exponentially like another kind of loan might do for you. Federal loans are subject to income-driven repayment rather than just a fixed amount of money that would need to be paid over a length of time to pay the loan off. Income-driven repayment plans don't necessarily pay off a loan, but at some point in that income-driven repayment plan, your loan would forgive, not just because you're going for public service, but loans that are subject to income-driven repayment are forgivable loans. Always, all federal loans are forgivable loans. Some loans are not only eligible for forgiveness, but they can even get faster forgiveness through public service loan forgiveness. And another advantage of the federal loans is they are discharged for disability and death, which means if you have a bunch of federal loans and something happens to you, your children, your wife, and your parents do not have to pay that loan back. And that's nice. That's a good benefit. Now, private loans are a little bit different. For private loans, for my students starting after July 1st, private loans, you'll be eligible for an unsubsidized graduate loan, the loan that they're going to be offering for all students starting on July 1st. Don't know what the fee is right now. They have not yet announced it, but it's probably going to be right about 1%. Interest rate, somewhere around 8%. We don't know that. We'll know that the second week of May. We'll know the second week of May what the interest rate on an unsubsidized loan will be starting on July 1st. You will be eligible for up to $50,000 a year. If you're a full-time student, it'll be $50,000. If you're a part-time student, or even if you're a full-time student taking less than full-time units, it would be less than $50,000 per year. Again, it's $20,000 lifetime limit. Now, it's just on graduate unsubsidized. So if you've already done a graduate program and you took some unsub and you took some Grad Plus, the Grad Plus won't count against you. That will not be part of that $200,000 lifetime limit. Private loans, the fees and the interest vary. We're going to see them all over the place. And as private lenders get more and more into this arena, and we're seeing more and more private lenders come into this arena, they're getting more and more creative with the way that they're financing these loans. So we'll see what happens with some of those loans. You can get up to the cost of attendance again, but it is subject to credit, and it is much more likely that you will need good credit and in order to get these loans, or at least have someone in your life that has good credit who can help you get the loan. To receive federal loans or federal work study, we would need to have your 2026-2025 FAFSA already submitted at studentaid.gov. Now is a good time to do that. It doesn't matter where you plan to go. If you're still looking at 6 different schools, then by all means put all 6 different schools codes on that FAFSA. If you don't put Southwestern's code on the FAFSA, I can't see it and I can't help you. Some of you will be getting an email this weekend from me who are admitted students who have a FAFSA on file. I can see it's there. I can look at it and say, wow, there's a FAFSA there. But I can't look at the FAFSA itself because you didn't put Southwestern on it. So if you forgot to put us on the FAFSA, do put us on the FAFSA. I won't bug you about it, but definitely you want to have that. Our school code is G01295. If you forget that, or you forget to put that down, or you're not taking notes, you can always email us, or it's also on our website. I also have a FAFSA questionnaire that I've sent to most of you. Those who have not already gotten the questionnaire but are admitted will get it in the next 2 or 3 days. It'll either come to you tomorrow, or if I have a really crazy day tomorrow, it'll come to you on Saturday. So questionnaire. You're not going to apply for your federal loans yourself. You're simply going to complete some documentation on the federal loan. Once we know whether or not you want a federal loan or not. We'll set it up with the Department of Education. And then if you need additional help with links to the entrance counseling or the master promissory note, I'm here for you. We'll make sure that we'll take that care of that for you. But be sure, if I do send you a letter, an email that says, please take care of this, please do this particular thing, you need to make sure that you take care of that right away. And that's especially important for those of you who are entering the SCALE program. If you procrastinate on your loan documentation, you may limit your ability to get loans in the program that you're in. Loan docs themselves for the federal loans, very easy to find. I will send you the email link to this page, and you're simply going to want to make sure that you do the one on the bottom for the entrance counseling. If you do this one up here, that's fabulous, but it won't do any good here. So make sure you do the one that says you're a graduate or professional student. And the same thing with the master promissory notes. There are two kinds of master promissory notes. All of you will need to do the one on the top. Those of you in the grad plus arena, those of you going into the SCALE program, may also need to do the MPN for the grad plus loan. But again, don't worry, you'll hear from me if I don't have it. Private lenders. Each year, if your federal loans are exhausted, you've taken all that you can get in the federal loan, and you still need some more money for maybe to pay the rest of your tuition, or maybe you need some money for living expenses. You can get private lender loans. There are a lot of different private lenders out there. And like I said, there are more coming along every single day. You'll apply with the lender themselves. And then they send us a little request for us to certify your enrollment. When we get that request from the lender within about a day, maybe 2 days, we do certify your enrollment. And that's pretty easy to do. It would be a very good idea to double check and find out if you will be qualifying for those loans ahead of time. The sooner you take care of applying for the loan and us recertifying your enrollment and making sure that that loan will be approved, the sooner you're going to be assured that you're going to be able to go to law school. Southwestern uses a historical lender list. What that means is that when we have a student who uses a lender and has a good experience, we'll put that lender on our list, and you'll have access to that list anytime you want. Watch out for bad lenders. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Like everything else in life, there are some lenders out there who are going to be in the private lending market who are out to make a quick buck. And you want to watch out for those guys. So make sure that if they're sending out information, just double check, do your research. It's really important. We, as a financial aid office or admissions office, cannot recommend one lender or another. That's not something we're allowed to do. I can give you a list of the lenders who we've worked with, and then you're going to have to decide which one is best for you. But you'll need to do your research. The way we send you our list of the lenders that we worked with, we send you to a website called elmselect.com. And Elm Select, if you put our school name in the search box and then you just hit let's go, it'll show you all of the lenders that we currently work with. This is our current list right now, but this list will grow as we continue to get students creating their private lending. But these are lenders, the lenders that we work with they've all been in the business for quite a while so far. That doesn't mean that I won't add other lenders to this list, but some of the big lenders like College Ave, SoFi, Nelnet Bank, Citizens, Sallie Mae, and even Ascent, these guys have been lending in the student loan business for quite some time. On those private lenders, you're going to want to compare things with these private lenders. For those of you wanting to go the private lender route, or for those of you who need that extra over the $50,000 that you qualify for in the federal system, you'll need to compare their rates. Just because they say their rates start at 4% doesn't mean they're going to offer you 4%. You need to make sure for. Now, fixed rates are rates that will stay the same throughout the life of the loan. Variable rates change with the economy, and you want to watch out for those variable rates. If those of you who are aware of what was going on back in the aughts, we had some variable rates that went out the roof and really created a lot of hardship for a lot of people who had chosen to take those kinds of loans back in the early 2000s. You'll want to look at their grace periods. Grace period says if you graduate in May, we're going to give you 6 months before those loans have to enter repayment, or maybe even 9 months before those loans enter repayment. Or maybe they'll consider you're going to do a judicial fellowship or something, and they'll allow you to keep that grace period during the judicial fellowship. Those are the things that you're going to be wanting to look at when you're choosing which lender to go with. You'll also want to look at whether or not you're going to pay while in school. Some lenders want you to. They want you to pay maybe an interest-only payment, maybe even a token payment while you're in school, or whether or not you have that 2 to 9 month grace. You want to look at origination fees. Many of the private lenders are not charging origination fees. So look into that. Origination fee says if you borrow $100, they're going to charge you $1 for that. Right out the box. So they're only going to give you $99. That's how the federal government loans work, but that's not how most of our private lenders are working at this point. And repayment options. What kind of options are they going to give you? Can I sign up for a 10-year repayment, a 15, a 20, or 25-year repayment? Find out what kind of options are available, because that can make a big difference on how much you're going to have to pay monthly after you graduate. And then also find out whether or not a cosigner would help. Now, the answer is yes. The cosigner is going to help. A cosigner with a high credit score would most definitely help you get a lower rate on the loans that you do get from a private lender. And let's talk about that credit score. Credit scores is kind of like your financial reputation. Most of you, I would hope, have already looked into your credit score. If you haven't, there's ways to do that. You can go to freecreditscore.com, or Credit Karma will give you a free credit score. There's a lot of ways you can do that. And what your credit score is based on, things like your payment history, how much money you owe versus how much income you have, how long you've had that credit, what kind of credit it is, whether or not it's new credit or old credit, whether or not you're going out and looking at stuff where they do what they call a hard credit check on your credit. That all can change your credit score over time. But now is the time to start building good credit. With federal loans, you don't need good credit to get the federal loan. You just don't want bad credit to get a federal loan. But with private lenders, you need good credit. Good credit typically is somewhere around 700 in a credit score. Some of the lenders will lend to someone with a credit score as low as maybe 640, but most of your private lenders, unlike the federal government, private lenders are running a business, and they want to lend to people who they think will pay back their federal loan or their private loans. And they don't want to lend to people who are not going to pay back that loan. So your credit score, the higher you make your credit score, the more it looks like you're able to handle your credit and you'll pay that loan back. So now's the time to build it. How do you do that? Number one, pay your bills on time. Are you behind on any of your bills? Are you having trouble making that credit card payment on time? All it takes is one late payment on your credit card, and your credit score starts to drop very, very quickly. Keep your balances low. Your credit balance on your credit card, it's best if it's zero, by the way, or you're paying it off every month. But if you must keep a balance on your credit card, you want to keep that balance under 30% of the total available credit. That will keep your credit score as high as possible. Avoid new accounts, especially now. Don't go out and buy any new stuff. Don't go out and buy a new car. Don't go join a gym. These kinds of things. Don't be putting hard hits on your credit at this time, because that's only going to lower your credit score. If you have issues with your credit, you didn't pay a bill, you ran out on your gym membership, you did something that has caused your credit score to go down, fix it. Pay that creditor off. Make sure that that credit issue disappears from your credit score. Also, if you have errors on your credit report, and you can ask to look at your credit report to find out everything that everyone's reporting on you. Fix it now. If there's something wrong, fix it. And yes, there can be something wrong. Sometimes they get it wrong and they report the wrong person. You have a name just like somebody else, or something else went wrong on your credit score. Trim your expenses down now. I cannot impress that enough on you. If you have expenses that are not necessary, you got subscriptions, you've got other things that are draining your wallet, stop them now. Now is the time to be smart about where you're putting your money. Um, I did mention earlier Credit Karma. This is if you haven't already set up on your phone Credit Karma, this is a great program. I've been using these guys for quite some time. They actually were part of another phone app that I can't remember the name of, and they morphed into this one because Intuit bought them. And this is a wonderful program. You put all of your bank accounts on there, your credit card accounts, everything on there. And anytime I feel like it, I can take a look at my Credit Karma app and see what my credit score is as of that day. I can look and see if anything has gone wrong with any of my accounts. I can see if any large purchases were made. I can look at my balances on my bank accounts. Everything is well, it's not always to the minute, but it's at least within the last 48 hours, and I can see if there's any problems. I can also refresh it so that I can see if anyone has purchased anything on my bank accounts, my credit cards, any of that stuff. There's just ways to really keep a better eye on your credit so that you can maximize that credit score so that you can minimize the amount of money you have to pay on those loans. So just a quick comparison on the difference between 150,000, which would be what you would borrow over those 3 years if you were a full-time student, in a federal loan versus how much a $150,000 private loan might cost you. With the federal loans, you have two ways of paying back that $150,000. If you were to choose the standard repayment plan to pay back a $150,000 loan, you would pay about $1,100 a month for 25 years. Every single month for 25 years is how much it would cost. You'd pay a total of about $332,000 if you did that. Or you could choose, which most of our students do, the income-driven repayment plan that they'll have available for you. It's called the Repayment Assistance Plan. It comes out on July 1st as well. And anyone who has a loan that disperses after July 1st must go into this plan if they choose an IDR plan. It is 10% of your income for 25 years. I'm sorry, that's wrong. For 30 years, excuse me. It's 10% of your income for 30 years. And if you were to go $100,000, make $100,000 a year and have a 5% increase on your salary every single year, you'd start off at about $850,000 a month to start. And you'd likely have that loan paid off by year 18 if you actually started off at 100K and had a 5% increase every year. Total paid would be closer to about 275 to 285 on that $150,000 loan. Now, if it was a $150,000 private loan, well, there's a lot of variables there. How much interest are you paying on that loan? Okay, you got really great credit, you might get as low as 4%. You've got credit that's not so great, you might get as high as 13 or even higher percentage rates. If you have a 10-year payoff, this is what the payment would be on those rates. If you had 15-year payoff, this is what the payment would be on those rates. So as you can see, a $150,000 private loan, paying it off in 15 years has the same payment as the standard repayment plan for somebody paying it off in the 25 years for the standard repayment plan. Your financial aid offer, it doesn't matter what school you go to, you're going to have a financial aid offer letter from your school, and it'll be on their portal, on your school's portal. For Southwestern, we have a portal called Self-Service, and you can look up all that stuff anytime you feel like it. It provides information on all the financial aid, scholarships, loans, and eventually federal work study that you might get while you're in school. And at Southwestern, these things change at your request. I have students who will request to take on a federal work study position. Maybe they'll want additional loans. Maybe you'll go to your private lender and say, I need another loan, and that will go onto your financial aid letter as well. All that stuff will be on your financial aid offer letter throughout the year. Scholarships at Southwestern, our scholarships are controlled exclusively by the admissions office. If you have questions about your scholarships, that's the office that you'd want to talk to. They have conditional scholarships. There's first-year incoming scholarships. And they're for the most part, they're all merit-based scholarships for our incoming students. There are additional external scholarships that are available, typically though for mostly our continuing students. But one thing I want to caution you on about external scholarships, many of these external scholarships are a marketing tool used to bring the best and the brightest in law school to these different organizations. Um, and they're fine, and that's great. But one caution, never give anybody offering you a scholarship a credit card number or your social security number. I will never ask you for your social security number unless I don't have it and I need it, then we'll talk. But we have access to that information, so no one from this school is ever going to ask you for that number. And it's very, very private. Very few people have access to that. Your loan servicer will never ask you for your social security number. They have it. They know it. There's no reason for you to give that out either. Scholarship opportunities should never be linked to your social security card. Okay, never. There is one place, though, that we do recommend that you look into, and that is Access Lex. Access Lex is an institute that we work with who work primarily with law students, and they help you from the very start of your law school career to repayment, to answering questions while you're repaying your loans. They don't have access to your particular loans. They give out mostly general information, but man, they're good at it. And one of the really wonderful things about Access Lex is they have money that they give to law students. And they have a number of different programs, but the one I like the most is their Max program. Their Max program is an opportunity for you to get a little bit more education about finance, especially those of you who don't understand loans, don't understand investing, don't understand managing debt, budgeting, these kinds of things. They got some fabulous modules that you can access. And every time you complete one of those modules at the Max program, they put your name in a hat. And then at the end of the year, and sometimes during the middle of the year, they pull names out of the hat and they give money. And it's really awesome. So I absolutely recommend Max program, Access Lex program. We have had students win up to $25,000 scholarships here at Southwestern. It's a great program, so definitely look into that. I'll also be sending you an invite for a presentation by our Access Lex representative throughout the year. And our first one is on March 19th. And I'll be sending you that information for those of you who are admitted students. If you are not admitted, but you want to attend that particular presentation, you'll have to email me and I'll send you the link. But the Max program is fabulous. AccessLex.org, and you'll find the Max program there. You can start doing those modules soon and do them throughout your time at Southwestern, and you can get a whole bunch of entries into that scholarship opportunity. Federal work study at Southwestern, you're a law student, and that first year is just so very important that you really focus on your education rather than on working.
I think it's just a booking.
I'm sorry?
Go ahead, Suzanne. Somebody just came off of mute accidentally.
Oh, no worries. So federal work study, we don't recommend that our first year students work in the federal work study program. I won't forbid it, but you'll want to wait until at least one set of grades have come in before you even think about federal work study. You do not, for those of you who have got a scholarship coming in, you do not want to risk that scholarship by spending time away from your studies when you could be guaranteeing that you can get a scholarship for your second year and your third year. But there are a number of different places that you will be encouraged to work in your second and third year, as long as your grades are good enough to do so. Budgeting. One of my favorite quotes, heard it the first year I was here, and certainly I use it all the time. If you live like a lawyer while you're in school, you're going to live like a student when you graduate. There's no more true statement than it will be from this point on, because for students who want to live like a lawyer where they're in law school, they're going to be borrowing a lot of money. And that money is going to make you miserable when you graduate if you have not been very, very good stewards of that money. So you want to make sure that you budget well. You got to stay current on your bills. Don't fail to pay your bills on time. You got to watch out for those credit cards. Man, they're evil. If you haven't figured that out yet, you will at some point in your life. I guarantee you. I remember when I learned that, I was probably 30 years old and went through a really tough year. And that's when I learned to budget. Credit cards, they should only be for emergencies, not impulse buying. And if you have to do what I did when it came to credit cards and take that credit card and put it in the file cabinet so it was not in my purse from that point on, do it. Do what it takes not to use a credit card because they are never, ever in your best interests. Live at home if you absolutely live at home if you possibly can. That alone can save you $36,000 a year. And that can mean the difference between you having an easy time as a first or second or third year lawyer and a tough time trying to pay off those loans. Pay yourself each month. If you haven't started saving some of whatever income you're bringing in and saving that amount, get used to start doing that. That is one of the best things anyone could ever teach you. When you start earning an income, you're going to take 15% of that income and put it in your savings account. And if you can start doing that when you first start out, and even with your loans, put that money in that savings account and try to save it. You won't always succeed, but try to save that money. By the time you get to be as old as I am and you're ready to retire, you're not going to be in a position where you can't retire. Drop the extras. There's a lot of stuff that we see students do that I just do not understand. Throwing money away, just throwing money away. One of the things that I did when I learned budgeting was I had to ask myself 3 questions before I would spend more than $100 on anything. And one was, do I really want it? Well, of course, I always, always, always want it. Number 2, do I need it? That usually screws everything up. And then the other thing was, can I afford it? Well, let me tell you right now, that third question, you can't afford it. You cannot afford it. If you're using student loans to go to law school, you can't afford it. You need to be good stewards of your money for the next several years. That quick latte before class, it's really expensive because over time that really does add up. I've had students, I'll never forget, used to do exit counseling in my office instead of on Zoom. And I had a girl come into my office for exit counseling and she needed more money. And she plops this great big Starbucks cup full of a brand new drink on my desk and said, I need more money. I just don't have enough money to make it through the month. And I looked at her and I said, well, how much are you spending on your food every month? She goes, I don't know, maybe $150, $200 a month. I said, no, you're spending that on your coffee. How much are you spending on your food? Because she was spending so much money, she had not even figured out how much money she was spending on her extras. That's an extra. Door dashing an entree from your favorite restaurant. The same food that you can make for $3, $4, maybe $5 if you're doing it right and buying stuff thinking about your money, you could easily spend $25 by door dashing it to your door. It's not worth it. You've got to learn how to take care of yourself, how to cook your own meals, and to live on a budget. And that means you cannot be living like a lawyer and door dashing your meals. Your loans themselves, you're going to be serviced by a loan servicer. These have changed many times over the years, but currently these are the 5 loan servicers that you will be hearing of. If you've never had a loan before, one of these guys will be contacting you after your first loan disperses. That is your loan servicer. They work for you and they work for the federal government. Their job is to make paying your loans as simple and as painless as possible. They don't always succeed. But if you ever have any problems with a loan servicer, you can always reach out to our office. We're more than happy to help you. Doesn't matter if you're here going to school or if you're a graduate. You can make payments on your federal loans while you're in school, but don't. I'd much rather you simply borrow less. It is not a good idea to be borrowing money only to turn around and pay it back on a federal loan. The less money you borrow, especially when it comes to those private loans, the better off you're going to be. When it comes to federal loan repayment, I already talked about that a little bit. The standard repayment plan is anywhere from a 10 to a 25-year fixed repayment schedule. If you're borrowing more than $100,000, it's a 25-year fixed repayment schedule. The income-driven repayment plan, called the Repayment Assistance Plan, is a 30-year forgiveness plan. But to be honest, if you're borrowing $150,000 on your federal loans and you're in the RAP plan and you're starting off making $100,000 a year, your loans are not going to forgive. They will be paid off long before they ever get to that 30-year mark. Payments start 6 months after you graduate. Undergraduate loan payments could start at graduation. It depends on whether or not they'd already entered repayment or not. Or when you start working, if you're on the IDR, whichever's last. So if in December after you graduate, you've taken the bar in July, you found out that you passed the bar in November, but you don't have your job in December, payments aren't going to start until you start working. So that's one nice thing about that IDR. And payments on federal loans are based on your income, not your loan balance. That's a really huge benefit for those federal loans. The only problem with those private loans, they cannot be consolidated with your federal loans. Private loans are paid separately from federal loans. So if you're borrowing both federal and private, you're going to have two different loan payments going out after you graduate. Those of you who are interested in the public service loan forgiveness program, in spite of all the clickbait you've been seeing, it's alive and well. There have been proposals since 2015 to end the public service loan forgiveness program. None of those proposals have ever gotten past committee, and I don't think they will. There are going to be some restrictions on employers who qualify as eligible employers, but that really should not affect most of you. Changes are currently being made to the program, but most of these are actually designed to benefit you, the borrower. So don't worry. If you're interested in public service loan forgiveness, it will be available for your particular cohort starting this year. And anytime you have questions, you can always answer most of your questions at studentaid.gov, but also email me directly at skunz@swlaw.edu. And my fabulous loan counselor is Leslie Rhea, and she, of course, is available as well. Just shoot us an email. We're more than happy to answer any questions you have. And that's the end of my presentation. And I'm here to answer any questions that you might have as well.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. That was fantastic. I'm going to run through a few of the questions in the chat. And if you can give us some answers, your guidance on that, that would be wonderful. So one of the questions was, maybe if I go in the right order here, someone had asked if it would be advantageous to close a credit card with a high annual fee prior to applying for loans.
With a high annual fee.
Well, that was the question.
Well, first thing I would do, honestly, is I'd call the credit card and see if you can adjust the fee, see if there's something you can do about that. Because closing a credit card doesn't necessarily raise your credit rating. Sometimes by losing that amount that you could borrow if you need to, that can change it. So my Credit Karma is consistently telling me, Suzanne, you need more credit cards. And I'm like, no, I don't, because I don't use them. And so their thing is, if you would take a couple more credit cards into your wallet and increase the amount that you could borrow if necessary, your credit score would actually go up. But I know me, and I know that that's not a good idea for me. So I don't do it. So sometimes closing a credit card is not in your best interest. Putting it into a file cabinet so you don't use it, that's okay. But you're going to have to use it once in a while to keep it current.
Okay, great. So I believe it was on the slide that you had about if somebody owed $150,000 of federal loans versus the private loans, and on the left column under the federal loans, in like the first box, it said something about a 10% payment for, I think that you said was 20 years, 30 years. So Callie was asking, is that 10% tax deductible?
Well, in some cases, one of the things they're trying to do right now is to pass a bill that would allow employers to make the student loan payments pre-tax. That's one thing that's in committee right now. Is it going anywhere? Hasn't gone anywhere for a while, but we'll see. There are pushes to make it tax deductible. Certainly your interest paid on your student loans in many cases is tax deductible, but the payments themselves, we'll see. It depends. There's a lot of things being thrown around in Congress right now. But as of right now, I don't believe the entire payment is tax deductible at this time.
Great, thank you. Andrew asks, is it possible to refinance a private loan down the line?
Yeah. Certainly. As your income to debt ratio changes, you become much more of somebody that they might want to lend money to. So let's say you've got a loan at 7% with College Ave, and you're now making $250,000 a year, and you've been really good and your credit is really good. You might go to SoFi and say, yeah, I'd like to refinance my loan. Can you give me something under 6% and negotiate? But that's certainly something that we do see our students, especially those who have high incomes and low loan balances, be able to do down the line.
Okay. So Gloria had asked, does her husband's income affect her loan opportunities?
No. Opportunities, no. Repayment could be. If your husband and you file taxes together when you go into repayment, the payment, that income-based repayment will be based on your household income rather than
So
just on
married
your,
filing joint versus married filing separate. Is that the distinction?
that's, and it will only affect repayment. It does not affect how much you can borrow.
Okay. So I know we don't ask it on the Southwestern admissions application, but do you have any information anywhere where you collect information on Pell recipients?
No,
Okay.
there's no Pell in grad school.
That was Kaylee's question, if you would see that someone was eligible for a Pell in undergrad.
Oh, we could if you want us to, but it won't do any good because there's nothing, we don't have any need-based aid here. One thing thing about the SAI, or it used to be called an EFC, now they call it an SAI. And that's that score they give you on your FAFSA after you fill it out and they send you, oh, your SAI is this. That gives me an indication of what your income is, but it really doesn't tell me anything about your abilities or your household income because it only is based on the student's income. So I have students who have an SAI score of negative 1500, but they live in a $4 million home in Beverly Hills. And I've got another student who's got an SAI of 43,000. She's a single mom living in I don't know, somewhere else with three kids. And so it doesn't really give us a good indication that that SAI is almost worthless in grad school.
Okay, so for Warren, as a non-traditional student, someone who's 40 years old and working as an ER nurse, is any financial advice different?
One thing that I find about my students who have been working out there and living and everything, you get used to a certain lifestyle, and it's really hard to bring that lifestyle and to cut those expenses down a little bit. Best advice I can do, take a real good look at your budgeting, take a real good look at what you're putting out there, and understand you're going to be a college student for a couple of years, and that really will make a difference on how much money you can be able to spend. So, we get used to a certain lifestyle, and then when you go back to college, it's hard to get used to that again. It's really hard, especially because I'm limited on how much I can have you borrow.
Okay, so for Amani, is freezing your credit before law school a good idea?
Well, you're not going to be able to be approved for any loans if you've frozen your credit. If you've frozen your credit. Now, if you're one of my students who's only getting the federal loans next year because you're starting in the program in August, freezing your credit won't make any difference. They're not going to look at your credit. The federal government is not going to look at your credit. If you're thinking about getting private loans, or if you're going to qualify for the Grad Plus loan because you're a scale student, don't freeze your credit. Not until after we get your loans, and then you can freeze your credit. So as soon as your loans have been approved, and you're welcome to email me, have they been approved? Once they're approved, feel free to freeze your credit. But anytime you ask for another Grad Plus loan or a private loan, you got to unfreeze your credit. Otherwise, they can't give you the loan.
Okay, and I was not familiar with this. I'm gonna toss it to you, Suzanne. Do we accept something called CADAA?
Never heard of it either. So I don't think so. What is that? California?
I don't know. Whomever asked that,
It's,
you
oh,
wanna
sorry, didn't mean
go
to
ahead. Is it
interrupt
you,
you.
Ashley? Go ahead.
Yes, it was. Thank you for answering my question. This is like a FAFSA equivalent for Children Under Deferred Action Act, which is
Oh,
like
okay.
early
Dream Act.
childhood arrivals.
Sure, sure. Dream Act. No, that's only for state schools and undergraduate schools.
Thank you both.
Of course.
Thank you. Okay, so let's see. I think we're through almost all of the questions we are. Oh, let's see. So Cal asks, is there a situation that would arise where we would have to pay out of pocket towards law school?
Sure. Yeah. So let's say you're a full-time program and tuition's around $65,000. I can only get you 50,000 in a federal loan, and you don't want a private loan, you'd have to pay about $15,000 out of pocket per year.